Well, it's 2:30 and you're listening to Santini Uurglas en ons gaan gesels met David Henderson van MYeBooks. Dave, how are you today?
I'm very good, no complaints. How is the radio station doing this morning?
Everything is so festive. Brenda had us take Christmas pictures, so it is magical. So, Dave, we're going to talk about MYeBooks and we're going to talk in particular about marketing. So, it's heartbreaking to break this news to all ebook authors. But to produce a good ebook is not enough to generate the sales results that you desire. So if you're an author, you write only because you're passionate, you probably won't need to bother with marketing. But if you're publishing by yourself and you wish to be read by as many target audience members, you will have to learn these skills. So Dave, tell us, how do you go about setting goals? Because effective book marketing, it takes a lot of planning and effort, doesn't it?
It does, and I want to start out by actually upsetting your listeners and popping a bit of a bubble that exists. The myth that exists when people write books is that if you traditionally publish, in other words, if you get published by a big named company, that you don't really have to take care of any marketing of the book, and that the marketing is only for authors who choose the self-publishing option. And that's an absolute myth where bigger publishers actually look at an author who knows how to market as a bit of as a benefit.
It's a
When they
bonus.
choose to, it's a bonus. When they choose, so when you knock on the publisher's door and you say, guys, would you partner with me? One of the things they look at is, do you have a proven following? Do you have a lot of followers? Do you have a platform that exists already with a lot of people who might want to actually read the book? And they look at that as a big draw card before they decide on whether they're going to partner with you or not. So firstly, those authors who go, well, I don't want to market and I'm not going to because of X, just know that most of the time you have to get your hands dirty. There's no real way to get around it. So the first thing is just, accepting that. And marketing is a very uncomfortable topic for a lot of South Africans. So as South Africans, I know how awkward it is to approach someone and kind of say, well, hi, I'm selling, product X, whether it's a book or not. Would you buy it from me? And we have such a aversion to that it's a bit of a mindset change. It has to happen as well. And I encountered that as a silly example within my own business where helping authors means I've got to sell myself to authors. And the way I was able to get around that, and the very quick answer is I changed my mindset from selling, where I'm selling to authors, and I changed it to I'm helping authors. So how can I help more authors? And by just changing the phrasing in that example, I was able to get through the sort of hesitancy to sell
Well,
in the
Dave, I
beginning.
was surprised. I one day asked you, do you have a business card? You said, no, I never promote authors come to me. So,
That's right.
yeah, that was amazing. So, Dave, do you think it's useful for authors to have a blog or website just to incite readers, to get to say, listen, I'm writing a book and entice them a little bit?
Yeah, so if you take one step back and you ask anyone who's writing a book and has a message to share, how do you plan to reach readers? So you've written an amazing message, and let's assume that your goal is to reach as many people as possible, because bear in mind that might not be the case. You might have written a book where your goal was cathartic, where you wrote a book because it helped you feel better about a bad incident that happened. And if that was your goal, then reaching as many people as possible comes secondary to the benefit of having shared that message in the first place. So let's assume that your goal was to reach as many people as possible and potentially profit as well, because again, someone who writes a book might say, well, I've got such an important message to share. It's a life-changing message. And me making money actually, falls to second or third place. The goal is to reach as many people as possible, and therefore I might give this book away freely, or I might charge a very little price. And the marketing you're going to do does change depending on what your goal was. So everything almost stems from the goal, whether it's cathartic, whether it's it's healthy for you to write about something that happened, whether it's a message you want to share. It might be a religious or spiritual or self-help book, and you want to just help as many people as possible, versus someone who goes, hey, I actually want to quit my job and I want to do this full-time, and money is damn important, and that almost is going to shape the marketing journey from the start. And a blog or a website forms part of those goals. Because, people could look at a website and say, oh my God, that's technical. I don't know what to do and it's scary. But if you frame it in the conversation of how can I help or reach more people, and going online is one of those answers, then a website should and does form part of every successful author's arsenal.
Now, Dave, I've seen some authors, as they come close to the launch of their book, they create a buzz around the book launch through contests and book giveaways. Do you feel that initiative is good, or do you feel it degrades the book?
Yeah, so there's very little. So I would take the word degrade out the sentence, and I would say you treat a lot of things as an author as an experiment. And now, if you frame it as an experiment, should I have an announcement? Should I have a giveaway? Should I make the book free, or should I make the book discounted? All of a sudden, the experimentation loses its dirty, feel, because you're trying something to see what works. You're trying something to see what your particular readers might like. And then you can easily see that there's actually no wrong answer. So if you want to play with the pricing, do it. Let's see what happens. If you want to, do a giveaway, where you give copies away potentially for a review, for example. Absolutely important for every author who wants to sell as well as they possibly can to embrace these little experiments that you do. For example, are you going to sell into one bookshop or many bookshops? Are you going to focus on a digital format or paperback format or audio format? And each one of these options is a little experiment that might work or it might not work. But not to get despondent. Don't give up just because one experiment fails. Maybe you try a giveaway and nobody goes for the book. That happens. As long as you learn and you kind of apply what you've learned from that little experiment.
Dave, do you think it's wise for an author to set up a author page on Facebook or account with Twitter, just to observe what kind of posts and promotions get the most likes and shares? Do you think sometimes the remarks are critic, sometimes it's constructive. Do you think it's good for an author to hear that criticism?
So social media is where happiness goes to die. And so the biggest mistake, someone who's writing, or I can almost say business in general, is to focus on social media before you've actually focused on the fundamentals. Too many authors go on social media and focus on, I shared a post and I got likes. But tell me, dear author, what do likes translate to? Do likes translate to sales? Does it translate to money in your pocket? Does it translate to partnerships? And can you prove that? And so I love pulling authors away from social media and saying, hold on. Wait till you've got products out there. Wait till you've got books on shelves before you worry about, playing with social media. And when you are ready to play with social media, let's say you've got 1 or 2 or 3 books out there, you don't post directly on social media. You have some website real estate you control that then gets shared to social media. You don't want anything on social media finding its home on your Facebook page, for example. So let's say if you wrote a beautiful article on some topic, you don't post that directly on social media. You post that on a website that then gets shared to social media. So that tomorrow, if Facebook decides that, kitten pictures are more important than your book information, and your post or your articles now get kind of voted down the queue, you're still in control of the original content from your website that no one can take away from you.
Well, Dave, we're going to take a music break and then we'll be back again. Dis 3:15, is ingeskakel op Maluti FM 97.1 program Sand in die Uurglas, die insetsel leefstyl. En ons gesels met Dave Henderson van MYeBooks. So Dave, I want to know, is it a plus point being reviewed by other authors of the same genre as your book?
It is. It is absolutely. I think a lot of the books, especially the sci-fi books I'm into, for example, where they have, reviews from people in the genre. So the term we'd normally use is editorial review. So typically a review can be from someone, who buys the book and leaves a review, or it can be from an industry professional, or it can be from someone with authority. And the reviews by someone in authority, someone in the industry, for example, are called editorial reviews. And those are generally the things that'll stand out on the book, cover, or it'll be mentioned in the book's front matter as the book starts, that you got a review from someone, well-known or someone within the industry you're writing in.
Well, as a rule of thumb, how many reviews do you need?
I'm gonna be difficult, and I'm gonna say as many as possible.
Okay.
So obviously the question really is, where do you leave these reviews? Because it's one thing, sharing your book out to friends and family, but you don't necessarily want them emailing you back on email going, "I love the book." Ideally, what you want is for the readers to actually leave reviews where they bought the book, typically Amazon, for example. And so when you are chatting with your friends, family, and followers, you actually want to prompt them to leave a review wherever they purchased the book. Ideally, that would be Amazon. Just bear in mind, Amazon does have some stricter rules when it comes to leaving a review. You must, for example, have an Amazon account where you've bought stuff before. So you can't just, open an Amazon account for the first time and leave a review. Amazon will count that as a little bit suspect and stop the review from happening.
Oh, very interesting. I did not know that. So, Dave, does it help to set a magic price on your ebook on Amazon, or should you not lower your standards?
Interesting. So it depends on your goal. So if you go back to what your goal was, were you looking to help as many people as possible, or to reach as many people as possible, or were you trying to gear this book for profit? For example, you might be a speaker or a business person where you're sending the bulk of the traffic to that page on Amazon. So if you wanted people to, who are browsing the shelves to, sort of see your book and buy it, you would price a bit more aggressively, a bit lower. But if you knew that you were putting a lot of hard work into the marketing and sending people to Amazon, you were then able to charge a much higher price because you've already put the effort in to convince the potential reader why they should buy the book, and then your price can be a little, higher.
Well, Dave, we were chatting about the pros and the cons of ebooks, but we could just kind of focus on the pros today. So ebooks are environment friendly, and it totally eliminates the paper printing process, saving printing costs for the publishers. And yeah, we were looking at statistics. Approximately 2.2 million books are published each year using around 3 million trees. Now, those are a lot. So if these paper printed books were to be replaced with a digital ebook, it could save all those trees from being chopped down. So
It
tell
could.
me, Dave, any other pros?
So the thing to think about when it comes to releasing your book is never to think about it's one or the other. So I'm either doing ebook or paperback, or I'm doing audiobook or ebook. You generally want to cover all your bases. So it's the same message wrapped differently. So it's a book in a paperback form, or it's a book in a hardcover form, or it's in an ebook form or an audiobook form. And too many authors kind of get wrapped up in their own personal biases and go, well, I love paperback, therefore I will only ever publish in paperback. And the problem is, just because you love paperback, it doesn't mean that all the readers waiting out there only want paperback as well. And so the first thing is that the author needs to remove the personal biases and consider getting it in as many formats as possible. Obviously, each has their own process and cost attached to it, but generally you want to, at least have an ebook and a paperback book. The second thing to think about is Amazon allows print on demand, and what that means is it's not the old-fashioned way of printing books where you send a batch of 100 books to sit at a dusty warehouse, and then as readers order, they take from that pile of books. Print on demand means Amazon takes your book print-ready files, and when a reader anywhere in the world wants to buy a copy, they then print that one copy, that 10 copy, that 100 copies. So there's no issue of stock anymore, but your book can still, the paperback book can still reach around the world. So I recommend that the author covers their bases by not just targeting the one format, especially where your authors, and I know South African authors are quite biased when it comes to the I'll only ever read a paperback book, because obviously there's a whole lot of pros for going the digital route, whether you're a reader or the actual author who's publishing. So I wrote down a batch of sort of pros, and I tried to find some cons, and I only got one con, I think, for going digital. But needless to say that there is a whole lot of good reasons for an author to get their message in a digital format. And as a reader, there's a whole bunch of good reasons to go digital as well. And I was one of those readers years ago who had to make that switch. I was the person who said, I'll never do digital. I'll only do paper. I love the smell. And that's not wrong, but you're definitely going to find some pain points when your library, for example, starts getting a little too big, or you want books that you can't find in paperback form at your local shop. And that's where digital really shines.
Yeah, and when you go anywhere, you can take your book with you. That's the
You
big
can take
thing.
it with. So I'm traveling right now, and I've actually taken my Kindle with me. And while I'm traveling, I'm buying books, I'm reading books, I'm sitting in the bath and reading my Kindle. And so it suits the pick up and go lifestyle where you don't have to take a batch of books. And it's also so much easier to find the book. If someone recommends a book to you, you're not going to walk into sort of the neighborhood bookshop and necessarily find it easily. The beautiful thing with ebooks is that it's generally just a point and a click, and you've got that book that you were looking for.
Well, Dave, as always, it was an honor to speak to you. And thank you so much. We'll be back next Thursday. We'll be talking to Dave Henderson from MYeBooks. Dave, have a lovely afternoon.